So it's going to be me and you. Today is May 18th. It's 5 minutes in, so we're going to jump in. Looks like it's Paul and Davis. We may have some people come in. So you're going to get some special treatment today. How about that?
That sounds good.
Awesome. Very good. So let's kind of review where we've been. And I'm sorry, I've got a little allergy thing going on here. I'm trying not to itch in my eye, but I feel like it's got a cotton ball stuck in there. But anyway, we're 2 weeks in. We've worked on several different techniques to get you motivated, but maybe it's good that it's just me and you today, and other people will watch, and we won't go into anything that's like personal or, tragic or anything like that, but we can work on some things that pretty common to everybody. So,
okay.
One of the things about the discipline that I work on is it's what we call content free. So if I help a person overcome a negative emotion or a traumatic event, we never actually talk about the event. We actually put it in like a little figurative box, and the person who deals with it is actually in control of it. So I've worked with many soldiers, military people that have gone through PTSD, and having them be able to overcome those without re-immersing themselves in a traumatic or negative event is often very liberating for them. So, so even if we talk about anger or fear or something like that, so there's Raphael. All right, Raphael, good to see you, man. It's just 3 of us so far. I don't know who else is coming. So what we're doing, we hadn't really gotten started. I just want a little feedback on what you guys have experienced so far up to this point. Now, Raphael, you were only here last week. Is that correct?
Yes, I was here last week.
But you weren't, were you not here the week before? I can't recall.
I was here for the rings. I was here for the first 2 weeks.
Okay, good.
So last week and the week before.
Good. And that's the entirety of it. So, I kind of want a little feedback on what you guys have learned so far. We did the Ring of Power. We visualized our goal and put it on our timeline. We changed direction toward a new, more prosperous future with the swish pattern exercise where we jumped in the train car. Remember that last week?
Yeah.
Okay. So what kind of perspective has that given you about life, about motivation, about goals, about direction so far?
You want me to go?
Either one. I'd love to hear back from both of you, because remember, it's just some feedback, and then we're going to go into a little worksheet.
The Ring of Power for me was different. It was something that I've never heard of or never experienced, to actually, try to visualize yourself giving that energy to something that's not there. So it was a little different for me. Yeah. But it actually kind of works, so I understand it, and I always love learning new things. So that was different. But I think with the timeline jump and visualizing that was it was really important to actually see that something is going to get done at we don't know the actual time, but sure, it's going to happen. So it was, I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, and if I had done a long form goal setting exercise with you, some of those can take, when I work with an individual, we really spend a lot of time visualizing that goal and what it would feel like to achieve it. So that exercise alone can take 20 to 30 minutes if I'm really working one-on-one with a client. So, the importance of really experiencing that goal as if it is now, as if you're actually experiencing that. The ring of power is just kind of a visualization to exercise your mind a little bit, to feel that energy and to understand the power of your unconscious mind. Because if you experience something once and your unconscious mind knows what that experience is like, why on earth can't you repeat that by just
Right.
going back into that experience? The energy portion, the ring, is just a representation. It's just a representation of your internal drive, what you have, the importance of you and your preciousness as a human being, and if you're a spiritual person, a child of God, and that interplay of, because it's not anything external, we're not conjuring up anything or any other entity, it's all you, right?
Right.
Because you refer back to the Bible and it says, as a man thinketh, so is he. And so if you can think in a certain situation or recall a certain memory, it is what you become. So Rob, go ahead.
Is it something like what's his name? The Wolf of Wall Street. I was reading some of the things that he did or he does, and like he has this. It's a spray that he sprays in his nose,
Mm-hmm.
and every time he would get a sale, when he would be really excited, he would spray the spray in his nose. So when he needed to feel excited again, he would spray his nose, and then that would give him the confidence to like go on stage and present to people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because all you're in the end doing is associating something with something else. Now, the of the five senses, smell is the one that is most associated with memory. So think about grandma's attic.
Well,
Can you remember that smell?
no, my grandmother never had an attic.
But you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Right.
But you go into a certain place, or you smell a
It's
perfume.
nostalgia.
Yeah, it's nostalgia, but it conjures up that memory.
Right.
There's a certain perfume, a lady's perfume, that reminds me of my first teenage love. And anytime I smell it, all those memories come back to mind. And, that's back when I had hair and could part it. And so, things like that can motivate you. So the ring is just like that. It is, it's that energy, and it's you. It's not really anything outside of you, but the fact that wonderful, beautiful you can create that reality at a moment's notice, it is awesome, especially when you really need it. I mean, if you're walking into a room and you're about to meet some people to make a deal or negotiate, or you just want to have a great day, you just want to, you're feeling good, you have that energy, and you manifest that, you walk through that ring, and you're going into the grocery store. Everybody's got masks on. How do you manifest goodness, greatness, energy, beauty, love, except to conjure that up in your own mind? And even behind the mask, you can extend that energy to another person, so that when they see you, you can see their eyes, you can see them light up.
Okay.
And so how you show up is how you appear to the world. And you may be the one thing that saves their day. And so because you have that, take on that personal responsibility. I don't know why it's the grocery store for me. especially now,
Right.
because we're in these times. It's somber. You can't run and jump and play and high five and shake hands and hug and all that other stuff. So you've got to do something. So that ring of power for me is really, really important. If you want another exercise to do that with, there's one called the unconscious hello. I don't think I've done that one yet, have I?
No.
All right. Okay, Raphael, do you mind participating today? If you want to be silent, that's totally cool. If you want to come in and play with.
No, it's fine. Last time I was just doing a lot of stuff. I wanted to participate. So this time I'll try to participate actively. With the ring of power, it resonated with me on two particular questions.
Okay.
One was think of a moment where someone that really loved you was there. I can't remember the exact question, but it was about thinking of the time
when you felt totally
loved
loved.
you deeply. Yeah, for me, it took me back to a family member of mine who had they were about to pass, and they wanted all these things for me, but they couldn't get it out because of their condition.
Mm-hmm.
But I could only imagine what they wanted from me. They just couldn't articulate it because of the pain they were in.
Mm.
And I think about that, and it ties to the second question that you asked, which another question that you asked was about thinking of a time where you had to overcome this huge thing. You had this huge a barrier or something. You had to mentally get ready for it and overcome it.
Yeah.
For me, that took me back from when I was transitioning from high school to college, and from one college to another, because I had a dual degree thing, and
Mm-hmm.
that was when I was my most fearful, and I felt the most insecure. But it was the end goal that made me kind of focus on the process back then.
Mm-hmm.
It just reminded me of how I felt then. I felt similar now, where I'm going through this process. I don't necessarily know how difficult it's going to be, but the end goal is the thing I try to make sure I focus on, and just focus on the process of growing into it. So it took me back to those two times, and I know you recommended the ring of power. For me, I had to modify that because the time I felt the most confident or cool at that time when I had my fitted hat on. So that's why I modified it to a hat type, crown type thing. For
However,
me.
your ring, your whatever of power is your whatever of power. For me, it's a ring, and just the idea of it can get you motivated. So,
And the last session, when you said picture yourself in this position, and trying to go back, make it real. For me, it kind of I've listened to various self-help type things, and one book that I remember really well is The One Thing, and how they tie your 5-year plan, your 1-year plan, your 1-year plan, your 30-day plan, your 30-day plan to your 1-week plan. When I was picturing myself in that position of where I want to be, I then thought about the process of backing into where you want to be from where you are right now. And there's a process you have to link all those things together in your mind in order for you to get there.
Exactly.
So for me, I put those things together in that way for me. So I do have my own way of doing it. It's slightly different to fit my personality, but
everything for you is the perfect way. However you manifest that, however you make that happen, however you can energize that and get that going on your own is perfect for you. So even when at the beginning, however you imagine your ring is perfect. It could be a wall. It could be a lightning bolt. It could be just a belt. I don't know. I mean, it could be anything, but it just represents that internal power that each of us actually really has. You just have to have the tool to manifest it. You with me? So let's talk a little bit about the unconscious hello. And it touches a little bit, Davis, on what I talked about when I used the ring of power. Okay, it's very similar. Who of you has someone, and it may have been that relative that passed, Raphael, from, let's say, your teen years or late teen years, or at that time of your life, that's still a formative time of your life, that if they may still be with you, or not. But if you ran into them in a random event, you would just pick up just like you did back then. Do you have a friend or a girlfriend or um, special person that you can think of that everything was easy with that person, and it just everything flowed and nothing would have changed in all of these years if you just ran into them randomly again? Can you think of a person like that? I mean, for me, it was my best friend in high school.
It's harder for me. I've changed so much since then. I honestly no. I can't think. I can't think of anyone.
I guess for me, it was my neighbor. He he went away, but before he went away, we used to hang out, play basketball all the time, and he was I think he was probably like 4 or 5 years older than myself,
Mm-hmm.
and he had told me that I better finish college,
Mm.
and if I don't, he was gonna kick my ass. So, you know, but if I ran into him today, we would probably just pick up the same. So
Right. Raphael, what about a
I
pastor or a mentor or someone who is a teacher or a principal or a coach and gave you
yes,
guidance
I
and
know.
gave you wisdom? What about a person like that?
Oh yeah, I have someone like that.
Okay. And you had that same level of
Uh,
respect for, and they respected you, even maybe at a time when you deserved it or didn't deserve it, or they could see the light in you. You have that person?
I do. A
Okay.
principal
Good.
and a counselor, actually, two
Good.
people.
Good. That's awesome. So, guys, I let's just do a little imaginary exercise. This one's not going to be so woo-woo. It'll be a little easier to manifest, okay? But imagine, if you would, for me, you're going to a convention or a conference in some strange city. You've never been there before, but it's a pretty typical city. And the hotel is about 6 or 7 blocks from the convention center. All right. You don't know anybody there. You've never been there. You can't think of anybody you know who's been there, but you're there today. And you're walking down there, and it's a beautiful day. It's like 75 degrees. There's no humidity, little partly cloudy skies, light breeze blowing. It's just a beautiful day, not unlike you might have had today. The weather here where I'm living has just been perfect. Okay. And it's not hot. You're not going to get sweaty. So you decide to walk instead of taking a cab or a bus or an Uber. All right. And so you're walking down the city block and just enjoying yourself. You got your ring, you're manifesting that energy. You're going to go have a great experience. And about 2 blocks up, you catch a glimpse of someone. All right. And just on a whim, you think back to your person, your principal, your counselor, Davis, your neighbor. For me, it's my buddy Pat. And you start thinking about memories. You're still walking. Man, I hadn't seen that person in so long. I bet if we just connected, that would be so cool. We just picked right up where we went along. Where we were way in the past. Okay, and you're you're still walking, and you look up again, and you just catch someone darting behind another person as the people are walking through, and it reminds you of your friend again. And you start to remember the good times, remember the conversations, remember the laughter, remember you didn't have to put on any airs. Everything was just cool. And it was just so great to have someone like that who, it was mutual respect. Okay. And those feelings start to come back, and you're thinking about those and how cool that would be. And then as you get closer, you see him again. Wow, that looks just like my friend. that just looks just like Pat. There's no way, you know, that I'm in this strange city that I could possibly run into them. And then all of a sudden, you're on one side of the crosswalk and they're on the other. And it's your friend. And they look up and they said, I saw you blocks away. And I said, no way is it possibly you. And you go give them a big high five and a hug and you say, how are you? So I want you to think about that moment and manifest that and double that and let that rise into you. And think about that one special person that you thought about and how precious that soul is that could bring that respect and that honor and those feelings and that personal safety and security and in that one human being that you saw that time. All right, everybody got that? Everybody got that feeling?
Yeah.
You with
Yes.
me? So now that you can think about that, could you reconstitute that? Could you get that feeling back if you just thought about it again?
Yes.
Anytime you can redo that.
Definitely.
How are you going to present to another human being if you show up like that upon your meeting?
I like that.
Positive. Like most people understand or they can read you without you actually knowing.
Remember
So
what we said at the beginning. How much of, excuse me for interrupting you, but that's a
it's fine.
great point. How much of communication is physiology?
Was it like 80%, 90%?
55%.
Yeah. So if they feel your positive energy and your happiness, then they won't it will probably be a lot easier to deal with them than and them to deal with you as well as you dealing with them. Because now it's like, oh, he's happy, he's positive, so you're not bringing any negative energy to that situation.
So you can do you feel like they can detect your vibe, they can detect your inner energy? And what about in a business situation where you're trying to do some level of negotiation?
I think that would help as well.
Do you remember us the first time talking about chunking up and chunking down? Where
I remember us talking about it,
right.
but
Chunking up is very broad and non-specific. Chunking down is getting into the details. So we're gonna, in our high level 30,000 foot view, we're in agreement that we're going to do our best to exchange a property, an investment, something, okay? And there's a negotiation going on. All right, so I want you to think about that. Every time, now you can, again, use this at the grocery store. You can use this when you're trying to get an upgrade on a flight, you're trying to get a better hotel room. You can, use that internal state so that they want to be connected with you. But think about this in a negotiation. You can flip that on and off as you want. So when you in a negotiation, you're at this high level, and then you move down to more specifics and more specifics and more specifics, right? And you come to a point of disagreement. That's when you turn it on.
okay.
Because your natural reaction is to be adversarial, right?
Right.
So if you turn that on and raise your internal energy and add that unconscious hello energy, that specific thing, and go, okay, well, let's get back. So and then we're going to go, and then we're going to chuck up some. All right, we were in agreement here, and then we were in agreement here. Now we're coming at a little impasse. So let's figure out what it's going to take to make this happen instead of, oh no, no, not going to do that. Then defenses go up and their defenses go up. So if you're motivated and your motivation strategy is to come to a mutual deal, look, we're not all not everyone is going to be happy. You know, when I was managing people, I would always say, we're going to have a conversation between two of you, and one of them's going to walk away unhappy. Let's just be clear about that. Okay. But you're trying to, in this negotiation, make it so that there's a give and take, right?
Right.
And using that unconscious hello can make all the difference. And I often, one of the groups of people that I teach. Hey, Michael, good to see you. One of the groups of people that I specifically teach are coaches and consultants that deliver courses, or they're public speakers, but they're selling some sort of program. All right. And so when we're talking about closing, one of the things I always have my clients pay attention to in that closing, when you're making the closing statement and asking the closing question, is that you raise your energy but slow down your tonality. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you have, and remember what I talked about the first night. The person with the most clarity has the most authority. Recall that?
Yes.
So as you are more clear, if you raise your internal energy with that unconscious hello in that closing and slow your wording down so that you're communicating at a different level, the negotiation goes smoother, doesn't it?
Most likely, yes.
Okay. Michael, you chopping some ice there? Just giving you a hard time, sir. Okay. You with us today? Okay, there you go. I was going to mute you. You're good. You're good. Raphael, what do you think about that? I mean, how can you apply that in a negotiation strategy and a motivation strategy and a goal setting strategy if you bring that positive energy?
Yeah, I think for me it'd be useful when I'm dealing with a tense situation. I already have to do some form of that because I'm an introvert by nature, so I don't particularly like talking to people unless I have to. So going into the situation, I try to review the person as a person I'm having a friendly conversation with, just so I can get myself up mentally to do it. Psychologically, I don't know, whatever you call that, but there are tense moments that I've encountered where I think that exercise will help, and I do believe people can feel energy. I am a believer that people can feel energy, not necessarily body language, just like something that people give off, and I think that exercise will help it in those moments to kind of complement what I already do.
Gotcha. Very good. Very good. And so in those situations, just remember the chunking up and chunking down. You were at agreement at some point. You were in unison with that person at some point. So when you come to a point where you're coming apart and you want to chunk back up, really kick in that positive energy, because you can do this with your kids, you can do this in your romantic relationships, you can do this with your family, you can do this in business, you can do this in negotiation, just about anything. The price of a deal from Facebook Marketplace, keeping all of those things positive can really get you into where you want to be, and a motivation strategy. And so if it's not always something like that, where it's a little more difficult to manifest that energy, think about that person, think about running into them again, think about how awesome that would be. Especially, those surprises in life, that randomness in life that brings you a blessing is such an amazing gift. Agreed?
Agreed.
All right. Okay. Now, we talked about the big goal last week and where that is and what that means and all of that. Now, I want to gauge, because here's our big goal, right? And here's where we are. And this gap in between is where we've got to change, where we got to motivate, where we got to change, where we got to figure out where we've got to take a turn, right?
Right.
And in order to figure that out, sometimes you got to figure out exactly where you are, because you only want to focus on the things moving towards that big goal that really need work. You know, you may think that, oh, this area of my life and this area of my life or this area of my life are are in sync, but I want to focus on this. So I want to do this little thing here, and I'm going to share the screen with you. All right. Okay. Everybody see the wheel of life here?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I'm trying to move us all, our images over here. Okay. Now, let me see if I can move that just a little bit. Okay. So if you got a piece of paper in front of you, no matter how good or bad you draw, I wasn't going to have you print anything, because, you know, if you got anything in front of you, there's going to be 8 areas of life. So basically, draw some form of circle, a line up, a line across, and then in between, and an X in the middle. Then let me know when you're ready. I'm hoping I didn't offend Michael.
All right.
Okay. So you can go online and find Wheel of Life PDF worksheet, and you can find an image to print. Here's one I found. Okay, but for today, I just wanted to have one because I was going to do this exercise again myself and compare it to one I did. These are good things to do every once in a while, every 6 months or so, to kind of gauge. You know, it's a reflection of where you feel like you are. It doesn't necessarily, you know, it's not scientific or anything. But okay, does everybody see the 8 points that where the straight lines intersect the circle?
Yes.
All right. And so those represent 8 different areas of your life, and I'm going to give those to you, okay? And it doesn't matter which one's which or which one's next to each other. So, all right. So the first one is home. Then career. Then money. Then health/well-being. So that could be physical, mental, or combined. Then family and friends. Then relationship and romance. Everybody caught up?
Yes.
Okay. Then personal development and spirituality. Last one is fun and recreation. Okay. So for each one of those spokes of that wheel, I want you to rate yourself. 0 is at the middle, 10 is at the outside. And I'm not going to ask you to share this with the group. So, you know. You're usually going to end up with a pretty bumpy wheel.
Yes.
You got a bumpy wheel, your wheel won't roll, Raphael?
Mm-mm. My wheel definitely won't roll.
Okay.
8, leadership. 8, personal development, no problem. Like a fun, recreation. On recreation. It's probably 3.
Yeah, this is one of those things I always time with daylight savings time. I always do a wheel of life, and I change the batteries in the smoke detectors.
Well, if you they have new smoke detectors now that you won't have to change the battery for 10 years.
Well, I don't trust that. All mine are hardwired in, but they all have batteries.
Yeah.
So I still change them out. And I'm not that generally prepared a person, so. Okay. Any surprises?
Well, for me, career is a surprise. Because I was an engineer. I'm an engineer. I'm a civil engineer.
Mm-hmm.
And I got laid off when the pandemic hit. So I was with the company for 18 years.
Oh, wow.
So career.
Are you going back?
No.
Really?
No. I decided that I'll never work for another person a day in my life.
So you jumped off the cliff. You got an airplane, or you building it on the way down?
I'm building it on the way down.
Amen. Might hit bottom, but you catch me on the bounce.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I'm a multiple streams of income guy. But I completely get it. I would never be able to, I would never be able to work inside at a car dealership. I probably would do well, but looking at the same guys and the same cars day after day, I think that would make me pretty crazy. But the guys that do it seem to love it, so there you go. What about you, Raphael? You said your wheel wouldn't even roll.
No, my wheel wouldn't roll.
Any surprises? Don't share anything personal, but
surprises. I guess my surprise is health versus spirituality. I think my spirituality is a lot higher than I would have thought it would be, just given my ups and downs with that throughout life. It's pretty high now. But health and well-being, I thought it would be higher, but it's lower than I would like. It's a lot lower than I would like.
Okay.
Based on my goals. So those two things.
Yeah, absolutely. So last week we talked about what's that one big goal. Does this change any of that for you? Or add anything for you?
It does add something, because a couple of the things that are lower than I would like helps me realize why my end goal is so important to me. If I reach the end goal, then the things will be a little bit more in balance. It'll be closer to a rolling wheel.
Right.
So
you may not be at a 10 on everything, but if you're a good, strong 8, you're doing pretty good. And, right now, Davis, you said career was your thing, but that was by choice because you had put things in place. I mean, you didn't just quit and, have.
No, I didn't quit. I got laid off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I wasn't planning on quitting until I actually did a deal or did a couple of deals. But unfortunately, life happens.
Yeah.
But I just, after giving somebody 18 years and for them to just let me go like that, kind of hurt, but it is what it is. I've never been without a job. I've been working since I was 12, so this is new to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of want to add to that. So for me, I'm in a different situation than Davis, but I'm an engineer as well. And career-wise, when I first started working, I was like gung-ho about, climbing the corporate, government ladder and getting to this highest government position I could get to. But then something changed the older I got. I don't know, like when I had my son, and the more people told me what to do, the less I liked it. And then I didn't enjoy the job. I still enjoyed the work, but I didn't like, I don't know, something about the day-to-day didn't work for me anymore. People tell me what to do. It becomes less and less something that I'm able to deal with. So the more, when this real estate thing takes off and I can replace my income, like I'm done, most likely. Once I get to a point where it's stable. But I wouldn't have thought that I'd be like in my mid 30s, like in my career, not even have any desire to move up any higher, just want to get out. I wouldn't have thought that would have been me. But that's where I am.
Right.
Well, let's think about that, Raphael, in reflection of that big goal. Same for you, Davis. All right, Davis, you're at a point of life where you said, look, I'm not giving it to someone else anymore. It's just going to be about me. This is my time.
Right.
And regardless of the struggle, I'm shooting for that. Same thing for you, Raphael, is you're saying, I don't want to be told what to do anymore. I want the freedom. I want the flexibility. And you may not be able to get to those heights that you're looking at, that you've set, that you manifested, that you saw, that you associated into, in a situation that's limiting like that. Agreed?
Agreed.
And so taking this little simple, few minute test or, observation can make all the difference for you. And at that point, you can launch to a different level, just because you're now in charge. Because if you're in charge of your state, your internal state, you can be in charge of your results. And constantly being able to be in a real situation where you can think about and manifest that goal and let that continually drive you, and seeing the white light as it approaches the blue light, like we did in the timeline exercise last week. Keep that blue light in your eyes, in your mind's eye, because that blue is what drives you. And as long as you focus on that and know that that's happening in your future, like I said before last week, all the other events between that future event and now are realigning themselves to manifest your goal. Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, I do have a little. So for me, I can see that, but I think for me, I believe you can influence. To me, is a hard thing to say you can do with motivation. I do think you can influence, strongly influence it, because external factors sometimes affect the control part. But I do honestly can see how these exercises strongly help influence the direction to get us closer to that end goal. But control is a strong word for me.
Well, tell me a little bit more about that. How do you balance, is it external control? Is it things in your life, or is it your own, limitations that you're struggling with, or staying motivated, or staying in that momentum? You're muted, Raphael. I'm sorry.
Oh, so the reason I said that the control thing is a strong word for me is because, like even throughout this process, you learn the scripts, you go through the roles, and it's a process of you growing into a great real estate investor, and being positive can get you there faster versus not being positive or just keeping some steady state of motivation. But you can't control the outside factors. Because I'm motivated, it doesn't necessarily mean that on my third try I'm gonna get a deal, right? So that's what I mean by control.
Gotcha. Yeah, you can't. You're absolutely right. But it's better to go through a process of positivity. And you're going to have
Agreed.
setbacks and you're going to go side to side, but keeping that goal in mind. It's just like, if you're a basketball player or a football player, or, you're looking for that touchdown, you're looking for that basket. And you may have to go around other players and even go backwards. I'm in this process where I've launched my first, ClickFunnels sales funnel. And at every point where I get to some new thing, it reveals something I have to move backwards on. So there's another piece of software I have to integrate. There's another piece of, I have to align this and move that and adjust this and deal with that. But it's part of the process. And once you've reached that process of closing those deals, of flipping those houses, I mean, Davis, I know you hadn't quite got there yet, but you're so freaking close, right? And I want you to report back to me, no matter, if it's 6 months from now or a year from now or 5 minutes from now, let me know when you got that first deal,
I sure will.
Because, I want to share in that excitement with you. And
Thank
so
you.
having those things where all you have to think of is the blue light. You've already set in your unconscious mind the manifestation of what it's going to feel like when you actually execute on the goal, and it's there. All right. These other areas of your life that are on the wheel to make the wheel rounder, Raphael, like you said, I love that you said that, the wheel wouldn't roll, but those are things that you can adjust along the way to increase wholeness, to increase that wholeness in your being. And as long as you're moving in that direction, it may take a little while, but that's okay. You're rounding your wheel. So, all right, any questions or thoughts as we wrap up today?
Well, my thought is what you were just saying. If as long as you keep your eye on the goal, regardless of how long it takes, then you'll eventually get there. That just reminds me of when I was in school for engineering. I didn't go to school like most people did. I didn't go straight from high school. So I think I was a EMT, a security guard. Then I worked at a hospital. And I was going to school all along for engineering. And
Right.
In my mind, I told myself it didn't matter how long it takes for me to graduate as an engineer needed to do to graduate. So just keeping that actual goal in mind kept me going.
Gotcha. Any reflections for you, Raphael?
Every time we have these moments, it builds on what we've done in the previous sessions. For me, I forgot what you called it, when you picture that person who's your mentor or your closest one, that exercise. Well, I can see how that would help me, because I already do a form of that, but that makes it just a little bit more personal.
Sure.
So I think that would help in that situation. And also with the wheel of life, that's a quick visual that I can see myself doing that every now and then, just to hopefully get to a point where the end goal where it will roll, and then it'll be a big wheel too, because they'll all be closer to that 10. That's the ideal state,
Right.
or at least something to strive for. So
sure. Excellent. And as you approach 10, your 10 now may be a 5 in the future. You want to have more fun. You want to have, your living space. You want your career to matter more. Your health is better. Your personal development. All those things you may set new targets, right?
True.
So, excellent. Okay. Any other reflections before we wrap up?
Nope,
Not for me.
but I enjoyed it.
Good. I'm glad we had this personal time. I don't know if that, in the end, that was what Brad was shooting for, but look, if any time that I'm doing one of these group exercises, if there's just the one that I made the difference for, it's worth it for me. So thank you guys for your participation. Really felt like we got something done today. And
Thank you.
all right, guys, we'll see you next week.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
See you.
Talk to you later, Paul.